everybody, my name is Susan and this is my channel, Susan's Road Less Traveled. Today we're going to continue on our journey through the VW manual, how to keep your VW alive. Continuing in chapter 7, which was called Engine Stops or Won't Start. And I've been remiss that I've been gone for probably 2 weeks now, but have had some family things happening and had to travel on the road last week. So I'm back and I just got my hair did. So thank you, Jazzy. Today we're looking at procedure for checking the battery starter, solenoid, and switch. Phase 1. So the conditions that we're looking at here is that the engine will not turn over or will not turn over fast enough to start. We've got our phase 1 toolkit and maybe some distilled water. Is your starter stuck? Step 1. Turn the key to the first notch and see if the red and green lights go on. If they don't, turn to chapter 8 or 9 and get them working. Well, slow down, Sparky. We need to get through chapter 7 first. Oh me. Turn off the key. Put the car in 3rd gear and push it backwards to unlock the starter assembly from the flywheel gear. If the fan belt is turning around, the starter can no longer be stuck, so try it again. If it starts, be happy. There are worse things. If it happens often, turn to the starter overhaul procedure in this chapter and tighten the starter bolts. They may be loose. Step 2, battery troubles. Turn your headlights on, and if they are nice and bright, your battery's okay. So turn them off and turn the switch to start. If nothing happens except a little dimming of the red and green lights, go on to step 5. If the headlights are dim and nothing or just click happens, then this is the next step. You have either a dead or dying battery or your connections are bad. If it's either one, the car will run on the generator. So get a push to start the engine, like Little Miss Sunshine, and make it on down to your regular service station. On those batteries where you can add water, check and fill the battery with distilled water, and if it was low on water, run it half an hour to see if it comes back up to charge. You need a piece of mirror and a flashlight to check the water in the bus battery. Interesting. If the red light goes out and the battery doesn't charge up, have the person in the station check the battery. You may have a bum cell. Watch the testing procedure to keep the attendant honest. And the bus battery is in the most awkward place to try to get to even take the cables on and off. If the voltometer, note, if a voltometer has become part of your toolkit, please turn to chapter 16. I have to look at these Roman numerals a couple of times. Chapter 16, where you will find directions for checking out your battery with this tool. If your battery is shot, buy a new one and have the place where you buy it put it in. But watch to make sure they clean the terminals more or less like in the next step as they do the installation. Give a thought to a new battery cable at this time. Don't forget to check the date of your battery. You may have enough credit time, on the guarantee to save you some bread on the new one. And I just had my battery replaced a year ago. Step 3 is battery connections. If the battery checks out okay and you're still having starting troubles, clean the connections. The corrosion on your battery is acid, and if it gets on anything, it will eat it up. So be very careful to clean up as you go. To do any type of battery charge, the battery must be disconnected from the post, especially true of quick charging. If your battery is not up to snuff, that is, does not have more than 9.6 volts under the starter load, the car will not start because the injection system requires more voltage. If you have a stick shift, you will be able to start it by pushing if the battery has enough charge to give the injection system what it needs. If that doesn't work, you have to take the battery out and have it charged or install a new one. When installing a battery in a fuel-injected car, take special care to attach the ground cable to the negative post of the battery and the positive hot lead to the positive post. Another practice that might damage your tender fuel injection system is that of using jumper cables from one battery to another when your battery is dead. 1974 and on Type 1 and 1972 and later buses and Type 4 had better heed the same advice about no jumper cables to start the car. It could blow your alternator sky high. I swear I've jumped my battery. I'll have to reread that. I'm confused. Fuel injection car owners had better prepare to have a well-charged battery in their cars at all times. Oh, I see. Okay. So I don't have a fuel injected engine right now. So I wouldn't have had that problem. So good to know. Thank you, VW. So step 4 is shorts. You are about to install the ground strap to the frame, and you may as well take this opportunity to check for shorts. Go around to make sure that everything electrical is turned off. If a small spark comes, you have a short. Some wire is bare and touching the frame, or in some way the current from your battery is being used when it shouldn't be. If your battery has been running down every day or two, you've found the difficulty. Now try to find the short. Go to the fuse box, usually located under the dash, and pull the first fuse on the left. Then try the ground clamp again. Still sparks? Well, put that fuse back and try the next one. Try each fuse like that until you find the system wherein lies the short. Then get out your owner's manual to find out which system the short is in and trace down the wires until you come to the bare place. Tape it with plastic tape and try the ground strap again. After no more sparks, bolt the ground clamp on securely and you are through. Through, that is, after you've cleaned up your mess and made sure there's no corrosive material left around. Step 5. Check the solenoid, starter, and switch. If the headlights are bright, but the starter doesn't turn, you have to check the solenoid, the starter, and or the switch. Get out a screwdriver, the small hammer, flashlight, and the ground cloth. If you have type 1, 3, and 4, you may want to block the left side of the car so it can't move and jack up the right side a little. I have type 2, so skip that. Slide under the right side of the car so your head is just forward of the axle. Coming out of the engine will be a round thing that looks like an electric motor, and it is, in fact, the starter, and the smaller round thing attached to it is the solenoid. When you turn the ignition key to start position, the current comes from that switch to the small connection on the top of the solenoid and activates the solenoid, which pushes the starting gear, quote, pinion gear, into the flywheel teeth. At that end of the solenoid travel, there's a contact that connects the battery directly to the starter motor, and turns the motor, which turns the gear, which turns the flywheel, which turns the engine to start it. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. Now locate yourself with the flashlight. Check all 3 connections on the solenoid and tighten them if they're loose. Take the screwdriver and hold it across the 2 big connections. When you put your screwdriver across the 2 large bolts on the solenoid, you are connecting the battery to the starter mower directly without the solenoid operation. The motor should whir into action but not turn over the engine. If it doesn't, and you know that your battery is good because you checked it with the headlights and you've done step 1, then your starter is shot and you should turn the procedure on overhauling the starter in this chapter. If the starter whirs, W-H-I-R-R-S, whirs satisfactorily, without untoward noises, then you can assume the starter motor is okay. So check the solenoid. So you're bypassing the solenoid when you put your screwdriver across the 2 bolts. There's lots more where the solenoid may not be, what's this say? The solenoid may not be getting enough voltage from the ignition switch to operate. This is a peculiarity of older buses. There are 3 ways to cure this problem. One is to run a heavier wire from the ignition switch to the solenoid, which is a tough job. The second, which is Mr. Muir's way, is to splice a wire into the wire that comes from the switch to the small connection on the solenoid close to the solenoid. When the solenoid acts up, or when I want to turn the engine for any reason, I remove the tape and touch the bare ends of the wire to the B terminal on the voltage regulator, and the engine merrily whirls. Oh, this time it's whirls, W-I-R-L-S. Then I remember to tape it back up afterward. A permanent cure can be made by installing a horn relay to match your car's voltage in the circuit. Oh my. Test the setup by operating the starter switch, then mount the relay to the firewall with self-tapping screws. It'll save a lot of rolls under the bus. The foregoing paragraph works very well for all models until about 1968. Well, that's not helpful, because Volkswagen started putting locking steering column switches on. Unfortunately, most motor rebuilders don't overhaul the starter at the time when they have the engine out. This is the logical time to do the job, but I guess they are trying to keep the bill down. The starter is much harder to get out of the car when the engine is in, so I try to make both my starter and generator due until overhaul time. Then I do them both to match the like new engine. Now that you have bought a new battery and overhauled the starter and the damn thing still won't start, you might like to turn to the next procedure, which is the fuel and ignition systems. We're going to stop with that. So to keep this nice and short, but as an update, last week I met again with my mechanic, as well as have spoken with the facility that is going to remanufacture a long block for me. And so I have my list of peripheral parts, a almost narrowed down timing to having my bus towed to the mechanic while I put in the order for the long block and all of those parts and wait for their arrival. for a January delivery. So super excited, almost ready to get the next steps going and make 2021 a travel adventure. So thanks everybody for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow along with me as I go through this engine rebuild journey. Take care.